Hello, welcome to the Steam Release Podcast. I am your host, Dueybear, and joining me today this week is Jimb0.
Howdy.
Howdy. The two of us are here to dig through the release list so that you don't have to. But yeah, you may notice that Roady is absent this week. She's got some IRL stuff going on, so was not able to make it, unfortunately. So, but we have Jimb0 here, so...
We miss you, Roady.
Yes, we miss Roady. Roady's the sunshine, and it's like, oh, especially around Halloween, like she turns it to 11 when it comes to her outfits, so it's really cool. So I'm looking forward to our Halloween stream, although I have no idea what to do for a costume. No idea.
Have you dressed up in the past?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that great. Like, I did like a lumberjack, which was easy because I lived in back last Halloween. I lived in Kirkland, Washington, so there's a lot of like lumberjack type stuff I could get. And now here in San Diego, I'm like, what do I do? Especially like with how it's so warm here, I'm like, I don't want to put on a bunch of stuff.
A distinct lack of flannel in Southern California, I think.
There is. It's distinct lack of flannel and secondhand stores, at least where I live. So it's like, that's how you get costumes. Secondhand stores. I live in a very like sort of working neighborhood, so there's not a lot of hobby stores or any like. It's very much like blue collar neighborhood. So it's like, okay, there's the grocery store, there's practical stuff. That's what there is. There's not like any of this weird, interesting stuff that you'd find in just all over the place in Washington. Yeah. So, but people have hobbies in Washington. Here in SoCal, it's like, if you live near the water, there's surf shops. Yeah. I mean, there's hobby places in some parts of SoCal, but a lot of it's a lot more blue collar than many people would think. Like it's very like kind of quiet blue collar, especially inland where I live. So
that's fair.
Yeah. So still have to figure out. And maybe I'll just do a ghost.
Just wear a sheet.
I don't know, maybe, but we'll figure that out. Anyhow, so I guess normally we ask like, what'd you play this week? But since it's been a while, I suppose just what have you been playing in general, Jimb0?
Well, recently I just started Dark Souls for the very first time, so I've been going through that, and it's been a lot of fun. Before that, we were working on 100%ing Stardew Valley. So I was able to, I think we've done all of the achievements except for, I need to do the arcade game. There's the Journey to the Prairie King. I have to go through that without getting hit. I think that's the last Steam achievement that I need.
Oh, wow.
But there's a couple other things in game that I think you can do. I just got the golden clock, and then I haven't beat the minecart game. Like there's stuff to do still, which is fun. Yeah. But I'm waiting for there's a 1.4 update coming out somewhat soon, hopefully, maybe. So that's adding some new stuff. So I'm gonna try and hold out for that.
Yeah, Stardew, wait, you've been playing this game for how many years?
Actually, I just started this year, I think, but I've got over like 300 hours, I think, in the game. Definitely something that I fell in love with and wanted to continue playing for sure.
Man, I keep coughing, but I've always been kind of interested in sort of farming games. At the same time, like I just don't keep going on it. But since I've been playing a lot of roguelites lately, which have a degree of an element where you just keep going and going and going and going, maybe I should check out Stardew Valley, because it seems to be like kind of the peak of this genre at the moment.
I would agree, and it's one of those games where I felt like I didn't really get it. Like when you'd see it, like it looks kind of interesting, or like you know some of the concepts behind it, but like until I actually played it and like I didn't understand it and then it clicked, And I do that a lot with a lot of games. Dark Souls was another game that I've seen from a distance, and it like, it looked interesting, but not interesting enough. And then I played it, and then definitely got it. So
It's funny because normally these two games I wouldn't put together, like Stardew Valley and Dark Souls, but both of them intimidate me.
yeah,
But it seems like both of them, like once you actually do that dive, it's like, oh, this isn't that intimidating.
right.
So
But there's definitely that for different reasons, right? I think for Stardew, there's actually a lot of game there, and for Dark Souls, the difficulty is like there's some barriers of entry that, but they're not. And I feel like they get I guess blown out of proportion a little bit. Like the Stardew addiction though is very real.
oh
And
yeah.
a lot of people talk about it, and I mean, it's just you always hear about the one more day, and
The Stardew
that's
Widows.
yeah, it's legit. But um, and Dark Souls is not any. I don't feel like it's any different than any other game that has a mechanic that you have to learn and something that you have to like get through. But Hollow Knight was a game that I felt like it's kind of in that same vein, and it's the game teaches you basically as you go what you need to do. So
Yeah, and I've heard it does do a fairly good job. Like, and a lot of the genres of games that I've found to really enjoy, like the roguelike genre, really intimidated by that at first, and now I'm like what 200 hours into Heroes of Hammerwatch, and we're nowhere near to getting 100% on that, but just keep, like, when I don't have anything else to do, I'm just like, let's watch Hammerwatch.
Have you tried Isaac and Gungeon yet? Have you tried any of those?
I haven't tried Gungeon yet, but as far as Isaac, I did play a bit of it. And it's just not as compelling to me. Maybe it's the rectangle fields. Like, that feels just really bland and constricting to me. Like, there's a lot of elements to Isaac, but just that aesthetic choice. Like, there's a few other games I've just kind of like just not been really engaged in because it's just rectangle. So I don't know. I do like a bit more variance because I'm used to sort of RPGs where I get to explore and find that sort of stuff. So roguelites that sort of give that sort of feeling that it's not so restricting really do attract me a lot. So
that's cool.
Yeah, and as far as I guess I already mentioned Here's a Hammerwatch, but I've also been playing a lovely game by the name of Grim Dawn. This is an ARPG, pretty similar to Diablo. I would say more like Diablo 2 than Diablo 3, but I've been into it. It's got an aesthetic that's like Divinity Original Sin. Like it looks like it's made in the same engine. I think it's just a similar aesthetic. I don't think they're the same engine, but it has a very similar aesthetic. And it's beautiful. It's very fun, and I've been having a blast in it. And the story is very, very good because it's got that sort of, unlike Diablo, where you have a base of operations that you can change a little bit through quests. In this one, like, the base of operations is really important. Like, it is your last bastion of survival, and the quests that you do gradually like upgrade it, and in small ways. Like, you'll have a little side quest where you help someone get some fabric, and so you help them get a bunch of canvas so they're able to make canvas roofs in these ruins. And it's like, whoa, that made a big difference. And people get new clothes. Like, all the NPC gets new clothes because now they have canvas to work with. It's just, oh wow. And then like fixing the well, and there's all these little things that you keep being able to do, and it's like, I'm in an ARPG, being able to like visibly change the world that you're existing in is really cool to be able to do that.
I agree.
So yeah, I've been enjoying Grim Dawn a lot. Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. But yeah, Grim Dawn, I recommend it. Also, it was gifted to me by another streamer named Ravenquick, just kind of out of the blue. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, he just it was on sale and he was getting stuff and was like, you know what? I bet he would like this. I was just like, what?
Is it
So
co-opable? Have you been able to play it with other people?
yes, it is co-op. I haven't played it with anyone yet, because I don't think I know anyone who has it. Oh no, my cousin has it. But on my first playthrough, I like to just do the story.
Sure.
So, and the story is very, very good. It's got this sort of constant pace. You don't feel like you're playing for several hours and getting no narrative. There's always a little bit of narrative every 15 minutes that 15 to 30 minutes that you end up getting, and it really makes the reason you're doing all of this clicking feel a lot better. So yeah. I do prefer it on controller though. So if anyone picks it up, play controller. Trust me. Okay, so with that, we've got our games of the week out of the way. Yeah, so many small releases. Yep, indeed. Yeah, and actually, so Stealth is bringing up demos. There are actually quite a few demos for the games we're going to be talking about this week. Okay. So, yeah. But before we do that, we do have a quick honorable mention. This is kind of a huge game, but it's a long-running series that's been on Steam for, almost since the beginning of Steam, and that is Trine. We have Trine 4, if it'll ever load. There we go. So the really, really fantastic Trine series. So Trine 3, if y'all knew about Trine 3, it did more of a top-down thing that was kind of weird and off-putting to a lot of people. And Trine 4 goes back to the old formula, where it's, this sort of cool, just 2D platformer. Yeah. And, the three characters, I think their mechanics are pretty much the same. They might have added a few new things, but it's just more of the game that everyone liked of Trine 1 and 2. So
yeah, I was watching, I think Zaw and Life were playing this the other day. I played a little bit of the first Trine, but then I never got into it because I guess I didn't have anybody to play with. I feel like this is obviously like a joint experience that you want to have. But
oh yeah, like it's good. It's good to play by yourself, but because playing with other people adds that level of unpredictability and sort of weird ways you can solve problems with multiple people, it is just so much more enjoyable. So really, yeah, it's a disservice to kind of play this by yourself when you can play with other people. So yeah, it's Trine 4. Excited. I've never actually finished a Trine game though.
Yeah. Have you played all of them?
I've played Trine 1 and 2. I didn't get Trine 3. But I did play Trine 1 and 2. It was all about like how long could I get me and my cousins together and play it. So we'd play it for a few hours. But for some reason we just never got together and finished it. So but for those people who do get together and finish it and make Let's Plays, those are hilarious to watch. They're just great because it's just this constant stream. Have you ever played Magicka?
Yes, I did play Magicka.
Trine is like the platformer of Magicka. Yeah. Like, you can just like accidentally mess with each other so much. And it's a beautiful friendship destroyer. So it's really, really fun. I like it a lot.
Well, in Magicka, you can just straight up kill your teammates if you want to, right?
Straight up, yep. That's another game I've never finished. We've played, let me see. We got past Jormungandr, which is like the first major boss. It's a giant snake. I think we got to the second major boss, but we've never gotten farther. And I'm pretty sure Magicka is a much bigger game than that.
Okay, yeah.
That's another game you need to play with people. Because it's really not that exciting, and it's actually quite difficult by yourself. Because when you can do combos with friends, that's what makes you be able to do the really big stuff.
Right, that's the whole. I feel like that's like the big shtick is to be able to chain stuff together and combine elements to make huge, giant explosions and kill everything. But
yeah, they always say that like, I've heard this a lot where people talk about there needs to be some sort of like matchmaking system for like gamers into like these indie games where it's like, oh, I just need a friend to play with. It's like, you know, like, you know, okay Cupid but for gaming. But I mean, every time that something gets made, it just never works out because
like a game buddy system.
Game buddy, yeah. Gamer with just like GAMR, you know, just like yeah.
Swipe right if you want to play Magicka with me.
Oh my word. And it never works out as well as you think it would. Nope. They would need to like have an eHarmony thing where it's like all the things that you're compatible with. Then it's just getting too serious. Anyhow. That is a long tangent. So we got our release list. We have I believe 15 games if I counted correctly. And we're going to start on Monday, October 7th. And as Stealth was saying, this first one is technically a demo. Mythic Ocean Prologue.
Yeah. And this one, it says, get to know the gods. This preview will give you an early glimpse into the world of Mythic Ocean, an upcoming narrative exploration game where your choices shape the fate of the cosmos. So it sounds pretty intense there.
It does seem kind of, I would say walking simulator, but you're underwater, so swimming simulator a little bit, like looking into it. But there's a lot of dialogue, there's puzzles, so it's an adventure game. And it's made by just 3 devs in Austin, Texas.
Austin.
Oh, is that where you're from? Are you near there?
No, I'm in Dallas.
Oh, Dallas. Oh, okay.
Dallas. Austin is it's a great city. I like it.
Yeah, Austin's cool. It's one of the places I've considered moving because there's a ton of jobs in Austin for tech work. But
there's a lot of indie devs, a lot of other, I guess retro for the makers of Metroid Prime are in Austin and a few other things like that.
Hey, Godless Weeb? Yeah, I guess it's sort of like Abzu, but where Abzu is more thoughtful and deep and somber. I think Mythic Ocean is a bit more comedy and like a bit of the wonder that Abzu has, but I think it's leaning a bit more on the lighthearted end, where Abzu, I feel, gives more of a serious timbre to it. But yeah, Mythic Ocean. Yeah, by Paraloon Games. It looks pretty good. The full release is coming out in 2020. There's 3 branching storylines that you get to experience in this demo, which is just a prologue. Looking at reviews, the reviews say that it kind of ends off at a spot where it's like, no! So it's definitely like sort of to bring you into playing Mythic Ocean. So this is free, so check it out. But just be aware that the ending's probably going to put you in a spot there's like, no, what's next? So, yeah. Yeah, it looks cute, I have to say. It looks really cute.
Yeah, I like the style. It looks nice.
Yeah, it does have that sort of low poly's the wrong word, but it's definitely not hyper detailed, but it looks very nice. Actually, it looks kind of like Temtem. I don't know what that art style is called. Let me see. Let me bring up Temtem real quick. Yeah, it seems to have a similar art style to this. Which Temtem, if you don't know, is a upcoming Pokemon type MMO sort of game that's really cute if you've never heard of it. But yeah, it's got a similar art style. I'm seeing this sort of 3D, like, it's hard to explain, pastels?
Not quite cell shading, but like a soft...
like it's almost like storybook. Like you could just take a screenshot and it's like a screenshot from it's like a picture from a children's storybook. Like this sort of art style. It's a cool thing that have been seen in the late 2010s, and it's nice. I like that theme. Anyhow, so Mythic Ocean, it is free, so be sure to check it out. Our next title is BeatShips.
This might be interesting to Stealth, who loves music stuff, but because it says flow with the music while defeating enemies. You can use your favorite music track, to create and share levels with the community, and also download new ones to extend your gameplay. Complete levels and unlock new ships and skins to get new styles and cool looks.
Yeah, this is another sort of. I like that the procedural generation of based on music tracks has come up such a long way, because we keep seeing all these new games that just sort of window dress it differently, and that is just very, very cool.
Yeah.
So I guess there's 1, 2. So there's 3 quadrants. So there's 9 quadrants that your ship can be in, I guess. Looking at, yeah, there's 9 quadrants. This looks really fun.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting how, Stella, you talk about game in your rhythm games, and I feel like I want to talk about like Cadence of Hyrule or Crypt of the Necrodancer, that I felt like blended a very, very good mix of rhythm plus actual gameplay. Because I mean, Cadence of Hyrule feels like a Zelda game, you know, but it has this great soundtrack and like a musical element to it that I think is very unique. This feels definitely much more like a classic, like Audio Surf or there was another game, not Beatmania, but by the
Beat Saber.
No, it's well, I mean, it's by Harmonix, like one of Harmonix's first games. I can't remember, anyways, but and that those are cool though too. I feel like, especially if you can use your own music, if it's like you said, procedurally generated enough that you can. It's not a canned track that you have to that has to be custom made.
I have no sense of rhythm though, so though I like talking about these games, I'm just like, yeah, no. Yeah, these games are torture for me, but I can definitely appreciate things that even I can't enjoy. Like this looks really cool.
Yeah.
So let me see, import. And what another thing, kudos, they have a built-in level editor, and they also unlock new ships and skins. So they've got all these additional features that they didn't make a base minimum viable product, and that's what I'm really looking for when I look through the release list. I don't want to see a base minimum viable product. I want to see like additional like progression and things that are technically unnecessary to make a product, but just adds a bit of depth to it. So that's very cool that you can customize your ship, get new ships, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. But yeah, that's by BeatShips out of Spain.
Spain.
Yeah,
that's
we actually
cool.
Lately, more and more so over the course of the year, is this year, it's been very interesting to see. Earlier, when we started this podcast last year, I would say at least half or more of the games we talk about would be from the United States. And just over the last year, like more and more, like it's been more and more so not places in the United States, as indie dev studios are ramping up all over the world, as you know, more places get internet and access to better computers, etc. It's been really cool to see the industry just sort of blossom just as quickly as it has. Because now there's actually degrees that actually do teach you how to make games, unlike ITT Tech, which was a scam. And, you know, a lot of these previous programs, which not necessarily out of malice, but it was such a new industry and it was always changing so quickly that no one could really make education on it. So it's cool that, you know, that's sort of allowing us to see more of these new studios and stuff. It's become more accessible. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, from sort of a very kind of niche game, but BeatShips, we do have a bit of a bigger release that a lot of people have probably heard of. This is from Tuesday, October 8th. Indivisible.
Yeah, and Indivisible is a hand-drawn action RPG platformer from Lab Zero, creators of the critically acclaimed Skullgirls. Set in a huge fantasy world, Indivisible tells the story of, I don't know how to say that name, though. Anya? Is it? Or I don't know. A fearless girl with a rebellious streak who sets out on a quest to save everything she knows from being destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's and of course their intro is even done by Studio Trigger, which is a major animation studio over in Japan. So yeah, they put money into this.
the animation looks really nice. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and of course God the Squid mentioned, yes, there have been a lot of games out of Russia. But Indivisible is from Lab Zero Games in Los Angeles, California, and published by 505, so it's not technically an indie game, but 505 does a pretty good job in getting those smaller games the promotion they need, so which is really cool. But yeah, so it's what I find interesting about Indivisible is it is both a platformer, but also it has this turn-based combat system.
Mm-hmm.
So it sort of combines the two. So you've got like active action, and you've got some turn-based action, which I'll have to see it to see how smooth it is.
Yeah, like the transition, or
yeah, that's sort of like just how the flow feels. Like, because sometimes turn-based RPGs can get really mind-numbing after a while, and I am sort of curious how this one ends up feeling.
It's interesting, yeah, because I feel like I don't know. It really depends. It depends on. I really like Darkest Dungeon, actually, and I'm not like
Oh, I love Darkest Dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but like I'm not a huge turn-based fan. I do like them, but I feel like I have to be in a certain mood. But like a game like Darkest Dungeon, like I think takes me out of that because there's so much. I don't know. I feel like there's so much at stake, and that like makes me want to play more. So if there's something like this where there's a healthy balance between platforming and the turn-based stuff, I think like it's enough. It would be enough to draw me in for sure.
Yeah. Though it's mostly positive right now with 70% reviews, there's been a lot of pretty negative reviews, and I think part of it is due to just its own success. Like this has been a very anticipated game, and a problem with that is when something is very anticipated, it may not meet the standards that people have invented in their heads, and that seems to be a lot of the stuff I'm seeing in the reviews. A lot of what people thought this game was going to be is not what it actually is. So it may probably, and a lot of positive reviews are from people who didn't know about this game. So I am sort of wondering if maybe it's going to be a sort of thing that perhaps if you don't know too much about it ahead of time, that you may have a higher likelihood of enjoying it. So,
but that's always the case, right? Like expectations can ruin so many things for so many people.
Yeah, and it can be really unfortunate when that happens. Which is why personally I always try to avoid knowing too much, even for games that I back. Once I back them, I don't look up anything on it. I'm like, okay, I'm confident enough that I would like this game, but I just want to not think about it until it comes out.
Yep, I'm the same way. I played at TwitchCon. I played a demo for Moons of Madness. I don't know if you played it too. And I didn't even want to finish the demo, right? Because it's a spooky sci-fi game, and I saw enough that I was like, okay, this is in my wheelhouse. I can walk away and just wait until the game. I think the game comes out next week, actually. Or is it this week? It might be this week, 20 to 22nd. So it'll be on next week's podcast, I guess.
Yep. According to at least one review, one review said that it is 23 hours and done. So I guess that's at least a ballpark for how long the game is. That's pretty hefty. That's a decent RPG length.
It does have a decent price tag too, though, at $40.
Yeah, they're not asking 60. I don't. Yeah, it's definitely a premium indie title as far as cost. So, but at the same time, looking at the sort of art, the animation, the clearly the money that went into making this title, I think it's pretty easy for them to ask that. So yeah, $35.99. And of course, it's from the developers of Skullgirls, which I feel like they can ride on that reputation pretty easily. So, and the next title from Tuesday. Tuesday seemed to be a day of the big. Well, it's like I would call them big studios, but they're not. They're like the mid-range, but the famous smaller studios. Next one is Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair.
Which is a brand new platform adventure from the people, the same key creative talent behind Donkey Kong Country. As the colorful buddy duo, you must tackle a series of stunning 2.5D levels and explore a puzzling 3D overworld rich with secrets and surprises. The original Yooka-Laylee is a lot of people compare to Banjo-Kazooie, right? Like it's this dynamic duo platformer game with a great, cute art style. And so I never played it though, and I've seen a lot of it. And it's definitely something that I'd want to do. So this is a little bit of a different take, right? Because it's the 2.5D and not Yooka-Laylee was a 3D game.
Yeah,
So
the main criticisms I've been saw for Yooka-Laylee is that it too faithfully recreated Banjo-Kazooie in that it had that sort of frustrating PS2 era camera, like the 3D camera that didn't follow whatever, like, because it was it was designed around the set piece, so the camera would always be in a certain position. You're like, no, this is not a good place, and it would change different locations. But yeah. It's them going sort of 2D is pretty interesting, and them making an homage to a different franchise, which is kind of cool.
I mean, Donkey. I don't know if you played Tropical Freeze. Other Donkey Kong Country games like the.
I played a Game Boy Advance Donkey Kong game.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've played one of the platformers, but never been really into that.
I feel like there's definitely a artistry to those types of games, and having that still be faithfully, I guess, worked on and created, I think is really exciting. I don't want those types of games to go away, because those are obviously the games that I grew up on, and I feel like they've gotten even better. You have other stuff like Yoshi's Woolly World and other things that have, like, there's a puzzle element to it, there's a platforming element to it, and there's a progression. There's a lot of neat stuff going on, I think.
I think gaming is an interesting field in that in the gaming's been around for since the 1960s or 70s, more mainstream with the Atari stuff. But in the last 50 years, gaming has actually sort of developed traditions, and it's kind of cool. Like, people who like traditional this or traditional that formats for games, they're very well served. Like, the gaming, even though it's a tech industry, like, the gaming industry is very good at, like, catering to the traditionalists, the people who want that sort of traditional experience. I think right now in this era, the main thing is, like, where does gaming go next? That's really been suffering, like, because a lot of the experiments have not worked out. So that's kind of been more the thing. But if you're into retro style, like, the best retro games are being made now, because the formula just keeps getting better.
Right, and then the even just like the tech and the art style, and we'll see later on the list we have Valfaris, that it's like, you have these great 2D art styles. I think Blasphemous recently, with the Metroidvanias. I think the best the best time to play a Metroidvania, like, is like these last couple of years. You've got Hollow Knight, you've got all these great, the Messenger and the classic style. Like, you've got a lot of good stuff that improves on formulas that were really good at the time, even. I don't know. There's this. It's good. I think this Yooka-Laylee Impossible Lair. I don't know. This is the type of stuff that I want to see from, because it's also a new IP, right? It's not a rehash either. Like, but it's in. I don't know. I like this type of stuff a lot. So
yeah, I'm really happy, and it's sort of, as someone who didn't have a gaming console until my 20s, and I didn't have access to the internet until my 20s either. Just lived kind of out in the boonies. But to sort of be able to almost feel like I didn't miss anything. Like, I get to experience a lot of these like cool things that a lot of people experienced back then. And of course, with modern technology, they're able to port and upgrade a lot of these older games to modern stuff as well. It's like, this is a nice time to be into games. So Oh man. And God the Sweet, of course, saying Shovel Knight is the best retro platformer. It's maybe not best, but it is very, very good. I feel like there's a lot that could contend with it, but it certainly I wouldn't argue against someone like, oh no, it doesn't deserve to be on that list. So,
and I'm glad to see Stealth with we're on the same wavelength with the Metroidvania. That's good.
Yeah, it's so neat. It's so neat that these sort of development traditions are being upheld, and still just improving on it, always improving. Okay, so our next day is from and of course Yooka-Laylee is $30 if you're all curious. Yooka-Laylee and the Possible Lair. Our next title is from Thursday, October 10th, and it is Pine.
Now, this is something that I've heard a lot about, and this is an open world action adventure game set in a simulated world in which humans never reached the top of the food chain. But I had seen a lot of people have been talking about this. This has a very kind of Breath of the Wild type feel to it, right? A very unique, I guess, premise and the fact that in the style of this food chain that they're talking about. I don't know. This looks interesting, and a lot of people have been recommending it to me.
Yep. Yeah, there seems to be there's all these different tribes, because humans are just one tribe. There's all these other tribes of the other species that have developed civilizations, etc. And you gotta work with some, you gotta fight against others. And there's just this sort of complex thing where they can rise and fall and destroy each other or help each other. I am curious how that works in principle, looking at sort of the stuff they said in AI, because it can be hyped up when it may be a little bit lower scale. So I am curious, but it is getting mostly positive reviews so far, so that is good to see. And a nice style. It is a nice style.
And it does look smoother than I would expect from a game like in this price range, right? I feel like it would be a little bit clunkier, but it looks pretty polished. The combat and the animation and that kind of stuff, it looks pretty good. So
yeah, a lot of games sort of in the 3D indie games, they go this one doesn't go too far in the glow. The lighting looks natural and pleasant. They're not trying to hide impurities with extra light rays or anything. It just looks very nice and clean. So that very impressed with what they've done so far. So I'm curious about how the workings of the AI, but even with that, some of it's just go into a game, if they're promising AI, just go into the game, just play it normally, not trying to fiddle with the AI. And because a lot of older games had very simple AI, but you'd still kind of trick you into thinking oh, this feels really immersive. So hopefully they're able to do that. As long as they're able to do that.
Right. It's all about not seeing the seams, right?
Yeah.
It can be very simple in premise as long as it's not, you can't tell what's going on or easily see what is actually happening. Then that's the best, right?
Yeah. I mean, because having worked inside game development, I've seen a lot of big promises on big ideas, and then they get implemented, and technically that idea did get implemented.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not to the scale that was the initial idea. Right. So
I feel like Telltale did this very well with the illusion of choice, right?
Yeah.
You think you're making a big impact when really you're not changing too much, but the implications, it seems like you are, right? And you might have a little differences that come down at the very end, but most of the time they're very small. But the weight of those decisions is really what matters, and that's the stuff that is really kind of more impactful. So as long as that stuff's there, it seems like you're making big moves and big choices, then I think that's what counts as successful.
Yeah. And per some of the reviews, the game takes about 20 hours to complete, 20 to 22 hours. which is pretty fine for a $25 price
Yeah.
tag. So one thing that they did say is that the main story quest is pretty short. It doesn't take that long to complete the main story quest, under 10 hours. So a lot of the experience of this game is probably the exploring and the additional going off the beaten path. So don't just go in and just focus the main story. You're probably gonna find that like, oh, what, I'm done.
And I don't know for you though, it's very hard for me just to focus on the main story in a game like this. Like,
yeah,
I'm
this
always...
feels like it would be like the Breath of the Wild, where it's like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
Like, that seems to be how this is designed anyway.
Yeah.
Because Breath of the Wild's main story isn't that long either. Like,
well, technically, you can just go straight and finish it, right? Like at the very beginning.
Yep.
But
so, yeah, I think that's just that is, I think it's quite possibly the intention. Well, it's definitely the intention with this is it's more of a not sandbox, but a bit sandboxy. So I'm curious how it works out. Yeah, Pine.
cool.
I think this is going on my wish list.
Yeah.
This along with Indivisible. Yeah, I'll put it on my wish list. I want to check it out. Yep. Let me see. Our next title is We Were Here Together.
Right, and this is the third game in a We Were Here series. As we explore these frozen wastes, misfortune strikes once again. Through the fierce blizzard, a flare lights the sky, followed by a cry for help over the radio. Broken, dying. No one else can come to their rescue. Can we make it back together? I don't know if have you played any of the other We Were Here games?
Oh, excuse me. I have not actually. So yeah, I've never heard of this series before. I found it this last week. So yeah, I didn't know. Yeah,
so I think the first one is free to play now.
Mm-hmm.
So I highly recommend it. It's a unique, it's a great co-op experience if you play with somebody else. You're often separated and you use your walkie-talkies, where it's something like if you keep talking, nobody explodes,
Mm-hmm.
where you have one person that has the key to something and you have to walk through it for somebody else, and you have to kind of go back and forth, and you're explaining, well, I'm in this room that has this and this and this, and you're like, okay, and then they'll have to like look at some book or something and be like, you need to pull this lever, and it's a very interactive element to a classic puzzle I guess experience. It's very cool. I only played the first one though. I like to play the second one, but I figured now I would just have to jump into this third one since it's the most recent.
Yeah, let me see. Total Mayhem Games. Yep, We Were Here Too. Oh, I like that TOO. That's nice. We were here too, and we were here together. Ah, interesting. I do like that concept, and I think this game is right up Roady Pie's alley.
Sure.
Except having to have co-op, because Roady Pie generally plays more single-player games.
Yeah.
But this would be a really good game to co-op. I've played. I've actually played. Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. That was really an enjoyable experience. An awesome game, especially if it's two people and then everyone else is watching the two people.
Yeah.
Like it's a good party game because it's so fun to watch people play that game.
Yeah.
Especially
it's not quite as stressful. Although I do remember there being some certain timed elements in the first game, which I think adds a sense of urgency. It's very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's not a huge penalty for missing those. You just have to redo certain parts, which is nice. It's not I guess debilitating if you don't fail those things.
Yeah. This game is $12.99, so it's certainly not going to break the bank. Yeah.
I imagine, I don't know how long it is. The first one, they're relatively short. You can usually like anywhere from like 3-4 hours, or even 2 if you're really good at puzzles, maybe.
Oh, okay. Sure. So it's probably, and I imagine once you solve the puzzles, it's not really a replayable experience. Like once you do it with the two of you.
Well, I guess you could swap places. That would be the but like you're looking at maybe at most 2 times through, but then of course playing with other people might be something, but then you will,
Yeah.
I think going in blind is probably the best way to do
Yeah.
it because you're both trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, and playing with 2 people, that means you're effectively doubling the time because it's 2 different people that you're playing with. So that is cool. Let me see. This is online multiplayer and online co-op. There was a bit of news to come up, but for games that are couch co-op, Steam is going to be adding a system where you can actually, one person can own that game, and you can stream it to other people, and then you can all play together on a couch co-op game. So that's coming out pretty soon. So a lot of the couch co-op games we talk about, not this one, but a lot of the couch co-op games we talk about are finally gonna get a new breath of life. Because
I think that's a good way to do it. A Way Out I feel like was kind of revolutionary in that you only had to buy the game once, and then you give a guest pass to somebody so that they can play with you.
Yeah. And in general, when it comes to those couch co-op games, I'm much more likely to get it if they have, like, you buy one, and if it's meant to be played with 2 people or 4 people, they automatically give you like 3 more codes or 2 or a code, and it's so much. It's gonna help your sales if you do a couch co-op game. Just do that, please.
Yes.
Makes it a lot easier for people. But yeah, and actually, so this one is from Rotterdam, the Netherlands. I forgot to mention Pine comes from Breda, the Netherlands. And our next title, Deliver Us the Moon, is from Schiphol Reek, the Netherlands. So the Netherlands, this is a Netherlands week.
That's really cool.
So the next title, Deliver Us the Moon.
Which is a sci-fi thriller set in an apocalyptic near future where Earth's natural resources are depleted. A lone astronaut is sent to the moon on a critical mission to save humanity from extinction. This is my type of game, I think. For sure.
Firstly, that title is excellent. Deliver Us the Moon. That is just some dramatic, like dramatic-ish right there. That's what that is. Deliver Us the Moon. I like that. So basically, what you're on a mission to get helium-3 from the moon, which people back on Earth desperately need helium-3 to power their it's the only fuel that they have left. So they need that helium-3, and something happened with there's already bases on the moon, and you've got to find out what happened. Why are they not sending helium-3? What is wrong on the moon? And of course, you saw the destroyed space. Bad stuff is happening. So it's all about you trying to figure out what bad stuff happened and how to stop the bad stuff from happening. And it looks really cool. Maybe it's like a sort of I'm hoping it's kind of like Dead Space, but probably not as horror. It's probably not in the horror genre because it's just more of a thriller. So yeah.
It's funny, like Stell talked about there are a lot of similar games I feel like this, but if they're done well, like I want to play more of them. I think it reminds me a little bit of, there's a game called Event Zero. I don't know if you played that, where you're on this spaceship and you have to interact with this AI computer. It's by the same people that did Stories Untold, I think. Which is just, I don't know, it was a unique way to kind of interface and do puzzles and things like that. And I really feel like the sci-fi setting is one of the most interesting for these types of games, because it adds that sense of isolation and sometimes dread, because you're in space, which is very scary and unknown. So I don't know, I definitely would like to see if this is one of the good ones, and so far it looks like very positive reception for this.
Yeah, and it's by Kaioken, which is not a studio I've seen done anything before, so this is really cool. I believe this is their first. Yeah, this is their first game, and it comes with, and you can purchase the soundtrack if you wish. But yeah, it's really cool. $25, but looking at it, it seems to definitely be a premium product. Man, let me see. Svezda. Okay, I don't know that much Russian, so there's some Russians like, ooh, what does that mean? But I don't know what that means. But yeah, it looks so cool. It's got that very foreboding situation. And as Stell said, yeah, there are a lot of saturated in the market, but most of them aren't good.
Yep, that's unfortunate, right? Like, it's hard to get good thriller or horror games, I feel, in the indie market. Like, there are a lot of them, and I think like they're usually really short. They usually have, I don't know. There's some magic there that I think is hard to capture, and so and it but this looks really good, and I don't know. Like, I'm very hopeful about it. Like, it all just looks really interesting.
The yeah, and then it's funny looking at the reviews. The right next to each other, there are reviews that negative reviews that say it was great until the ending. The ending was bad, and then there's positive reviews like the ending was great. So it's like it's kind of controversial ending maybe. So that's interesting.
Yep.
So yep, but yeah, that is Deliver Us the Moon, which that sounds like a book title. I love that. Deliver Us the Moon. All right, so the next title is Radio Commander.
Ooh, a game in which you use the radio to give commands to the soldiers on the battlefield, keep track of the situation based on their voice reports only, lead U.S. platoons to clash with Viet Cong in a realistic, innovative approach to the RTS genre. Make hard choices in a narrative-driven experience and face the outcome. So it sounds like you have to deal with a sort of delay on the classic strategy genre. They want you to kind of bring you into the real world a little bit and have to deal with communication lag or issues rather than just clicking a mouse and having things happen immediately.
Yeah, that is really interesting idea. So now I've seen this has been a controversial game, though it is very positive right now, so 80%. I've seen a lot of negative reviews about like this is just bad. It's an interesting concept, but it's really poorly executed. There's the other reviews, like some of them also from military personnel who are like, this is so well done. Like, so there's it seems controversial, and it's like just like one of those new ideas. You're either gonna get it or you're not. So I think that's probably part of it. And if you don't get it, you may just have to work at it until you do.
Right. I also feel like the premise is unique enough that like either you have to like the premise in order to like the game. If you don't like the premise, obviously you're not gonna just. It's hinged so much on this core mechanic that it's gonna be a love or hate it type.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be one of those games, and it's like I'm curious to see because have you ever played Squad?
I have not. I've seen people play Squad though.
So the interesting thing about that game is it has a lot of elements about this where there's some players in that game who all they do is radio command. Like they're just like, okay, you head over here, you head over here. I've played dozens of hours of Squad, and I've not shot a single person.
Really?
Because I was just like capturing points, setting up radio towers, helping people move from one location to another. That's all I was doing, and yet it was still enjoyable. And I think that sort of innovative idea about how to reimagine the war game is kind of clever. Like this is what it's a bit more like, and that's kind of cool. Because it's logistics, and this is very much like one aspect of logistics. Is you're the commander sitting here sending people off to do stuff and not knowing what the current right then situation is. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. No, I think it is interesting. It's also interesting though because I feel like war. I guess I haven't seen a whole lot of modern either strategy war games or but taken in like a realistic setting. So having it be in Vietnam is, I guess, I just haven't heard of a Vietnam game in like a long time.
It's been a while. So, yeah. There's been them, but I feel like a lot of them came out in the 2000s. In the 2010s, it's all been like World War II again, or future, or like Gulf War era kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since we've had Vietnam era. And of course, hardly anything from Korean War, because it's the Forgotten War for a reason. That's why it's called the Forgotten War. Everyone seems to have forgot that it happened. But anyhow, so this game is also developed by 4 devs out of Poland. So it's just a small team, and I think it does kind of show to a degree. The visuals aren't that like impressive, but they're stylized enough that everything looks like it fits. So good job there. I do like that. And it doesn't need like that much in the visuals, because it almost like reinforces the situation that you're stuck in this tent. Like, okay, here. I like it. It's very nice. All right. Cool. And it's $20. Series Sim. Our next title. I know you've been dying to talk about it, but
yes, I've been waiting.
Valfaris.
Yes, set in a far corner of space, Valfaris is a heavy metal infused 2D action platformer, and the next game from the team behind Unity Awards finalist Slain Back from Hell. Brutal combat, deadly enemies, stunning pixel art, savage soundtrack. Get ready to rip the galaxy a new wormhole. This reminds me of like the old 2D Duke Nukem type games, right? Where like just brought into the new era with this over the top like kind of art and sound and visuals, and it looks fantastic.
It's very busy, but at the same time, it doesn't look distracted. Like, it's very busy, but I can still tell what's going on. So that is really cool, aesthetically. And the after you win a level, you headbang. Ah, my gosh.
I was watching some people like that big robot part, like, and just like when people play this, and it's so satisfying. It's gotta be, right? Like, because you're just blowing everything up, and you feel like a badass in a game like this, and I think they've done a really good job nailing that.
Yeah, this is by 2 devs. Andrew Gilmore did the art and animation, and Thomas Jens did the coding and design, and they are located in Texas. So, our second Texas game. But yeah, it's so well done. This is a labor of love, like, clearly. And being a labor of love, it comes with a $25 price tag. So it's definitely like going from a premium, but it's at 91% positive, so I probably assume it's worth it.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it, and it's funny because like a lot of my favorite games like this, like Hollow Knight and this, like they're both like very, very small team members. You have the artist, then you have the programmer, and then maybe you have like the music coming from somewhere else, and it's just, I don't know, like there's always so successful though. Like I feel like, well, not always, but I feel like a lot of times they blow me away, and I can't get over just how well they do.
Having worked in the game industry, it's like, I think I can see where having a small team really helps streamline it. For example, one of my companies, like their raid team, they wanted to keep it small. It was only 5 people, like for their raid development, and I think that really helped them streamline the design plans for it, because some of the teams are huge, and it just ended up becoming development by committee, and it would lose focus. And I think that might help a lot of smaller studios like this. Just like, we have a vision, we know what the vision is, we're completely locked into this vision, we're going to do it. And as long as the vision is actually good, a good idea, it's going to come out. It's going to come out faithful to that vision. So,
and I think Valfaris has a good vision. Like, they had a concept, and I feel like they nailed it. So.
Oh yeah, Valfaris. Yeah, it does. Godless Weeb mentioned looks like Blasphemous. Yes, but it's like, yeah, it's like Blasphemous in neon. Probably. And I think this one is less dependent on timings because this is a shoot, run and gun, whereas Blasphemous is very much like block, parry, attack. More Dark Soulsy. If you'll forgive me.
But again, like it's one of those things where we talk about like it's a good time to be into these types of games, either art style wise or gameplay wise, or like I feel like there's just the quality of these is just so high because we've come so far in development and gaming concepts, I guess.
Yeah, and this takes it above and beyond that because you also have a ton of different guns you can get. That's a lot of customization. There's all this. There's points where you get to control robots. Man, how cool! How cool is that? So yeah, congrats to now both of these devs. Like, of course, is their first as Steel Mantis, but both of the devs on this team have a ton of history, particularly the art and animation guy, Andrew Gilmore. I looked at his resume. I don't necessarily remember specific ones on it, but it is huge. Like he's worked on at least 20 games. So he's done art for at least 20 games. So it's really cool that these veterans, they're like, hey, let's make our own studio and do our own thing now. And that's cool to see. So really beautiful work. All right, our next title coming out of Ukraine is Deuterium Wars.
Which is also a 2D shooter, but you get to create your own aircraft and plunge into heated battle with other players. What awaits you? An extensive role-playing system, craft trading, and much more on a single server for all platforms.
Yep, so this is kind of in that 2D kind of MMO space, which is we've been seeing a bit more of this. It's really cool. It is free to play, which of course, depending on what you're looking for in monetization, your mileage may vary. But so far, it is a mostly positive reviews, and though it has that very basic animation where you just have the model and you have the rotors and you're just kind of like floating around that sort of like almost paper puppet look. It works. Yeah. It works for this game.
It's funny. This reminds me of it. There's an old game. I don't know. It was called Subspace. Did you ever play a game called Subspace or hear about it?
Feel like I've heard about it.
It was one of these like it was a pure shooter. This seems obviously has more elements to it, but it was like one of those skill-based shooter games that like you were like people just got super into because it was like hard to control your craft, and you literally just shot each other for a while, but it was like really difficult and interesting. But it has some of that same feel to it. It looks like in the combat.
Yeah, and the sort of floatiness of the movement where you don't stop immediately, and that definitely gives you the feeling that you are actually hovering. So
customization looks really cool with some of the ships and stuff.
Yep. So yeah, if you're looking for a free multiplayer like just battler, this looks like it could be really fun. It's been in early access for a long time, but it's finally come out, and it's doing well. Wait, no, maybe it hasn't been out in that long. Oh, it's been out for a while. Yeah. But it's this year. It's not been early access for multiple years. But yeah, Deuterium Wars. You know what? I may have to check this out. It's free.
It's free is a good entry point, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, and I think, does Valfaris, speaking about free, doesn't Valfaris have a demo?
What does it?
I thought it did. Nope, it does not. It does have a deluxe edition though. All right, so our next title, Friday, October 11th, is Fallback.
All right, Fallback. Lead the rebellion in an epic rogue-like adventure. Guide your jetpack-equipped post-apocalyptic volunteers through a labyrinth underground complex by jumping, dodging, and battling against robot minions and masters to get to the surface and bring life back to the scorched earth.
So there's like the robotic apocalypse, and you're just the survivors underground. That's kind of a cool theme.
And jetpacks.
Yeah, jetpacks. Yep.
Can't go wrong with jetpacks.
Yeah, so this is by a team of 5 devs from previously of Ubisoft and Amplitude, based out of Nantes, France. And there's apparently 3 biomes, from what I've found. So they have 3 biomes, and they've got and of course it's a roguelike, so it's all about like you send out these guys, these volunteers to save, do a specific task, and they usually die. But it's all about you learn things, and then you get a new guy who go out there, and perhaps you've gotten some upgrades for your team. So I like these kind of games for sure. So I'm definitely into this.
Yeah, it looks pretty interesting actually.
And they somehow ended up with 98% positive of reviews, so that is pretty impressive. By this team and Road. I do like roguelite. I may have to put this on my wish list. Yeah, it's $9.99, which is really cheap actually. Oh, and they're even having, so they have stretch goals for their, depending on how many copies get sold, they're going to add additional features. Okay, that's an interesting, I've not seen that before. People do that. I mean, not on Steam, on Kickstarter, yes.
No, that is interesting.
But on Steam, they're like, hey, if we sell this many copies, we're going to add this DLC. Okay, interesting. So, that is very interesting. Okay, well, $9.99 Fallback. Alrighty. So this next game I don't entirely understand, but it's also Friday, October 11th. Coming from Liquid Bit Games in Chicago, Illinois. We have adding skip cinematics in a patch is interesting. Yes, that is a good feature to have. Especially if you have seen that same cinematic multiple times in a roguelike. But anyhow, Killer Queen Black is our next title.
And this is the ultimate arcade esport. I don't hop on the snail, hoard berries, or wipe out the enemy's queen to claim victory. I don't know anything about this.
So this appears to be based on there's a few, it's an homage to a few other types of games where there's this sort of you have these different classes that you use, and there's multiple win conditions. For example, in this, you can win if you get the snail to a certain location. That's a snail victory. You can also get a victory by you can build up your resources enough to win. And then there's also just the killing victory where you wipe out the enemy. But yeah, so there's all these different rules, and making sure your hive wins. If I look down at the reviews, there is someone who mentions what game that it seems to be an homage of. But yeah, basically an economic victory, an objective victory, and then of course just defeat the enemy. So yeah, but there used to be
sports. That's the whole review.
Yeah, people are describing it like a 2D platformer Dota sort of.
Okay.
But there was another game, and the review is not on the top anymore. So crap. I should have added it to my notes. What game it's an homage to? Because I've never played a game like this before. Sorry, don't know.
Yep. Nope, me neither. But doesn't mean it's not interesting and for somebody else, right? Yeah,
and it's just kind of a cool idea where you have this multiple ways to play the game. You've got these 3 different classes: the queen, the worker, and the soldier to choose from, and of course 3 paths to victory. Yeah, so you've got the military victory, the economic victory, and the snail victory. Yeah. But, and I think you need the queens for the economic victory because you gotta lay the eggs. But yeah, so that is very interesting. Very, very interesting. 4-player couch co-op and also online play. So they got unranked and ranked. So very, Very I don't know if it's going to be an esport though. That's kind of, we shall see. They're trying to push the esport angle. You need not billions, but you need tens of millions of dollars to be an esport.
Yeah.
Get in the esport realm. But it is cool that they're adding a competitive game that intends to be competitive. Right. So that is Killer Queen back. It is $20. They also do have a 4-pack for $60. I don't know if I would dive in on a $60 for a 4-pack. I'd have to know that, like, yeah, maybe I'll probably wait for a sale. It is very positive though. It is pretty well liked. But yep. Wednesday, October 16th, we have Roof Rage.
Roof Rage, the martial arts platform fighter featuring epic rooftop battles. Play up to 8 players locally or 1v1 online. This looks kind of like a pixel art Super Smash Brothers type game.
This is a game I understand. But yes. Yeah, it's interesting that online it's only 1v1. You can't do it seems you can't do like a larger group. But yeah. It's martial arts, rooftop fighting. There's 12 different characters, and I think there's also 12 maps as well. They are also saying that they may do a story mode eventually for future patches, and they're planning additional characters and additional maps as well. So
it looks really smooth. It looks sharp.
Yeah, it really does. It looks quite fun. Very playable. There's a few other games that we have, like there's Legends of Aether. There's another pixel art brawler game. Let me see. This is $11.99. How much is Aether? Rivals of Aether. That's right. It's Rivals. Okay, Rivals of Aether is $14.99. So I would say it's probably a reasonable price. But Rivals of Aether by Dan Fornace. It's kind of like this, except instead of martial artists, it's like animals. But yeah. So, whoops. Ooh, I don't want photo editing. There we go. Okay. But yeah, it looks really smooth. There's also the mechanic where you can take like roof tiles and throw them, and that can be part of your combo. So there's all these interesting pickups that thematically fit the situation, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. I like that.
Yep. And if you time it right, you can catch things that someone throws at you and then throw it back at them.
Which character would you play out of these?
Out of the characters? Probably the old guy with the beard. Because he's got a bit of a floatier moveset where you can, because I play Kirby. I'm one of those bastards.
Okay.
I play those, so that's what I do. So, no serverless, bold strategy. I think Godless, we was talking about a different game. But yeah, it is kind of surprised they don't have more than just 1v1.
The B game?
Yeah, the B game. Yep. Oh yeah, the B game. Yep. No serverless, bold strategy. But yeah, so Roof Rage. This looks fun. I'm always down for more Smash type games. Yeah. The one thing is like, because they maybe have slight thematic differences, but once you have one, you don't really need another. So I don't know. That is one thing. So
yeah, I think as long as the controls are tight and it feels good, I think these types of games it has to feel responsive.
Yep.
And I think this looks like it's pretty tight, but
yeah, it looks very smooth, which is cool for pixels to be that sort of very smooth feel. They got enough frames going. All right, and well, that brings us to our final game. Thursday, October 17th. I had the pleasure of seeing this title actually played. But yeah, it's by Kong Orange and by out of Air House, Felix the Reaper.
A romantic comedy about the life of death. It's brought to you as a 3D shadow manipulation puzzle adventure game of dance, dying people, and dangerous love. Definitely a unique premise, right?
Yep. So they did, they of course did motion capture for his dancing. That is something he did. But the primary mechanic, which I didn't initially get when seeing the trailer, is that you have to be in the shadows. So it's all about you move the direction of the sun to keep yourself in the shadow. And I think on each stage you can have the sun be in 2 different positions. So you have to figure out how to get all the things done in a certain way. But yeah, apparently you work for death, and your job is to, make sure people go when they're supposed to go. And it's just very funny. It's kind of tongue in cheek, very macabre. Like the gameplay I saw, like there's this process where you have to coordinate a hunting accident where this guy's supposed to accidentally kill his friend at a certain point in this hunting accident, and you have to arrange it. You have to like make sure the right things come together for it to happen, for him to accidentally kill his friend. And it's kind of gruesome, but at the same time it's just very lighthearted and funny as they're doing it. So
no, I like the style a lot, like that kind of, I think it works really well, from these videos and that little trailer.
It's really charming. I definitely want to check it out. It's just a cool sort of puzzle game. So, and it's published by Daedalic Entertainment, which once again proves that they've got a pretty good taste. So, let me see. There was something else. Oh yeah, so and so you're like a Reaper, and you're interested in like Betty, who works at the Ministry of Life. So, so there's a life ministry too.
Of course,
you work for the Death Ministry, and you're into someone who works at the Life Ministry. So it's just very funny. I'm curious. Mature content contains blood and occasional cartoon violence. It's a very gruesome cartoon violence, but yeah, it's not really gory. It's really unsettling.
Yeah.
But it's always done in this sort of tongue-in-cheek way, which makes it a little more unsettling. But yeah, Felix the Reaper, it's on my wish list. Yeah. It's going on my wish list.
Cool.
And that is the release. That is all the games that came out this week. So I have to ask, we come to the end of the list. Normally we would have Roady's list of horrors, but I do not have the touch for that.
all the rejects, basically.
Yes, I get annoyed where she finds these weird, like, horrible gems that are just like, they're so bad that they're almost good, but not quite there. I don't have the eye for that, because I'm just like, no, annoyed me. But she's just got like that eye that's like, this looks so horrible that it's interesting to talk about. So
again, we miss you, Roady.
We miss you, Roady. We miss you. But we will talk about the best list. So I'm curious, what was your best list?
Oh man, I feel like Pine, Deliver Us to the Moon, Valfaris, and Yooka-Laylee were kind of all at the top of my list. I think they all looked very playable and enjoyable to me. In fact, I think I threw all of those onto my wish list.
Yeah, indeed. It was a good week, because it's funny, you list off those, and I've got a different list. But yep. I wouldn't disagree with that. Those are like bad. Those are also really good, because my things like Mythic Ocean looked really good. So did Indivisible. Yeah. I would say Indivisible looks excellent as well. Let me see. and of course, Felix the Reaper. I'm really into that. But yeah, so those are my three, and it's cool that we had entirely different picks, but there were a lot of great games that came out in the last 2 weeks. So of course it's 2 weeks because last week I was sick, which you can probably tell I'm still a little sick. I'm not dying, I hope. But yes, but yeah, that is this week. So cool. And chat, let us know what your favorite games this week. But for now, Jimbo, let us know where the internet can find you.
I am on Twitch at twitch.tv/Jimbo. That's JIMB0. I'm on Twitter as Jimbo Alert, again with a 0. And that's pretty much the two places that you can find me the most.
Yep. Yeah, and he does regular streams, and it looks like your season of Stardew Valley might be coming to a close soon if you do finish like all the achievements.
Yeah, like I said, I'm hoping for the update, and then Witchbrook is going to be it's the next game from Cuttlefish, I think, that's going to be in that same vein, I
same
guess.
Vein,
yeah. It's basically witchy Stardew, but we'll see. I don't know. There's a few other kind of cozy games. Of course, Animal Crossing next year. It'll be my first Animal Crossing to play. There's some stuff that I'm looking forward to for sure. But yeah, Stardew. I don't know what else to do except maybe challenge runs. There's a lot of challenge runs that we could do. But thanks, Stealth. Cheeky Stealth.
Yeah, there are a lot of Stardew-esque games that have been coming out as well that are
Kinseed is another
good.
one.
Oh, Kinseed, yeah.
It looks interesting.
It's
been in early access.
So
welcome to the Bear Cave.
Oh, thank you for the follow. I forgot I had the notifications on, but thank you. But the I believe Roady played Kinseed quite a bit. The thing with Kinseed, it's still in early access.
Yeah.
It's not yet done. So there's certain things that come to dead ends, but it is showing a lot of promise, like where it is going.
Right. I'm kind of in that spot that you were talking about. I just want it to come out, I don't really want to look at it or worry about it until it's just really. And
it's definitely in a situation where it's like some things in early access are practically done. It's like, oh, there's just going to be some extra content, but yeah, that's not Kinseed. Let me see. I'm trying to think. There are a lot of gardening games. There's My Time at Portia is another one that's apparently really, really good from folks I've been talking to. And there's another one that I'm trying to find, but it's Stardew Valley, even though technically Stardew Valley is sort of an homage to Harvest Moon. It sort of spawned a new genre, and I guess we could technically say Harvest Moon spawned a genre, but I feel like the children of Harvest Moon include like the Facebook gardening games and Stardew Valley. And Stardew Valley sort of took that forward and then has sparked a new sort of revival in the genre.
Yeah. We've seen kind of Littlewood, I think, is a newer game that's kind of in that same genre. What was it? I can't remember. There was another game that was a little more active.
There's so many games. As you like hunt them down, it's like
Forager. Forager is what I was thinking of, but it's a little different. It's more of a action-based Stardew, but yeah, there's been a lot, definitely.
Yeah, and it's just it's an excellent thing for them to keep coming out. Oh, and Graveyard Keeper, which I hear isn't. It needs some work. At least from folks I've talked to, like there's definitely some issues with it, but I mean it's been getting patches, so hopefully it'll be improved. Garden Paws, that's although that's more in the realm of an Animal Crossing type game almost, which Animal Crossing has a lot of similarities. But yeah, there are a lot of titles that definitely go in that homage and are doing great. Oh, this Terraria. Terraria is an interesting one to check out. I hate that game.
I guess, and Starbound too, right? But
Starbound, yep. Yeah, so many games I hate. Like Terraria, I have like trauma to a point where I kind of like it now. It's, you know, sort of like, oh, I like to be abused now, so I'm into Terraria. I'm not into that genre at all. But because I have had to play it with friends, I've learned enough about it that I'm kind of into it now. And I'm mildly ashamed of myself, but yeah. So that's kind of how that works. Oh, Staxel. Staxel's another game that's in the genre of sort of Stardew, except it's like 3D Minecraft sort of aesthetic. But yeah, so and as for me, I am just here on this channel, Dueybear. I've been sick the last couple weeks, and hopefully I'll be better this next week. We shall see. But I've been streaming Grim Dawn, lots and lots of Grim Dawn, and of course Final Fantasy XIV, and any roguelite I can get my dirty hands on. So yeah, that's been me. So thank you, God the Sweep and Stealth for chatting with us and hanging out. It was a pleasure. And we will we'll then just like sign off, say farewell to the YouTube folks, and yeah, and this VOD will be up as soon as possible. So toodaloos.
Take care.